Welcome to 12 Minutes or Less with the Author. I'm your host, T.L. Brown, but you can call me Tracy. Let's get started.
Hey there. I'm so pleased to welcome today's guest, epic fantasy and romantic fantasy author Helen Garraway. Helen is the USA Today Bestselling author of the award-winning epic fantasy Sentinal series, the fantasy romance SoulMist series, and the standalone dystopian fantasy Harmony. She's contributed books to two fantasy anthologies, Realm of Darkness and the Kickstarter Reign of Dragons. An avid reader of many different fiction genres, a love she inherited from her mother, Helen enjoys immersing herself in fantasy and is passionate about creating new characters and worlds, editing, and all things writing. Welcome, Helen. It's wonderful to have you on today's podcast.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to chat books.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. So, I'm a fan. Haha.
There she is.
Your writing is absolutely beautiful, and you paint such vivid imagery in your books. I'm sure there's a bit of natural talent behind your success, but it's clear that you also invested time in honing your craft. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey as an author and also how you've grown as a writer?
No, absolutely. I never thought I'd be an author, actually, but I did start writing in 2016, 10 years now. I guess it's 10 years since I started writing and five since I published my first book, which is like crazy. But yeah, I started writing for myself. I was writing the type of epic fantasy that I love to read. And in 2 years, I wrote six books. The creative dam burst, and I just started writing. And then I had these books, and I didn't really know what to do with them. And so then I wanted to read it as a book instead of just reading it on my laptop. So then I started investigating, what do you do with a book? What's the publishing world like, and the decision between traditional and self-published. And then I chose to self-publish because I started writing later in life. I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to give control of my books to somebody else. So I decided to investigate the self-publishing route. And that's quite a steep learning curve, but I did, and I've investigated, and then I got a development editor because you don't know what you don't know when you first start writing. And then I started learning the craft of writing because I instinctively wrote the books and then realized actually I need to make sure that what am publishing, if I'm going to publish, is actually what readers expect. So then I self-taught myself, the craft of writing, the structure of a book, made sure I got everything edited. And I must admit, I enjoy the editing as much as I enjoy the writing because it's just polishing your story to be the very best. So, and then I just kept writing scenes and writing, more story, more plot. The world kept growing. I just love world building. And so I ended up with six books. Yeah, and that was the Sentinel series. And then I self-published the first book in 2020. And
Wow.
now I have eight books in that series, about five novellas,
Oh
and
my goodness.
two other worlds that I've written in. So it's all very exciting.
That's incredible. You're so prolific, but you're consistently fantastic.
Oh,
So
thank you.
that is quite the skill and talent, both, definitely. And so let's talk about your novels. They fall under epic fantasy and fantasy romance. What drew you to those two genres as a writer?
Well, I'm a voracious reader. I read anything really, but my favorite is fantasy. So I ended up writing fantasy because that's what I really did enjoy reading. And of course, I much prefer to create my worlds than have to try and figure out and fact check the real world. It's much easier for me to create a whole new world with all the different regions and the cultures and the history and the religion. And I'd rather create my own. So I get really enjoy the world building, which is I think where you paint that setting, and to me, the world building is almost part of another character because it affects how your characters react through that whole journey. So with the Sentinel series, I really did get immersed in building a complex world, and it became eight books in the end, and as I said, five novellas. So it became a comprehensive world, and I just love writing it. The SoulMist series I wrote for the Realm of Darkness anthology, and really that's an example of if you don't say yes to an opportunity, then these wonderful things don't happen. So the anthology was aimed at hitting the USA Today bestseller list, which we did do. And Soul Breather was the book that I wrote for that anthology. So I became a USA Today bestseller through writing that SoulMist series, which was, again, a bucket list moment. And then I wrote a standalone dystopian, which is Harmony, which was just an idea that was fluttering around and I just wrote it. It's just one of those that you had to get out of your head and get it on paper and then do something with it. So I just did publish it. But it's probably my least known book. But if you're just looking for one book just to see what my writing's like, that's probably your one place to look if you like dystopian. Yeah.
That's awesome. And I'm going to add a little question here
Yeah,
or observation. I remember when you hit the USA Today bestselling list, I believe this was it. Was the book on New York Times
exactly. Yeah.
Square on the
Yeah,
billboard?
both Soul Breather and Sentinel's Justice, which was the third book in the Sentinel series, both won gold medals in the Book Awards, and they were up on the Nasdaq board in the New York Times Square. Again, another bucket list moment that if I hadn't have entered into a book award, I would never have got the medal nor the opportunity for it to be up in Times Square, which is just crazy.
I remember seeing that on social media and I was so excited for it and just like, yeah, go Indies, go Helen. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was
So
amazing.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Let's see, what else do we have here? All right, my last question today. You have authored those two series, the Sentinel series and the SoulMist series, as well as published short stories and the standalone novel. Can you share what's coming next for our readers and listeners?
Yeah. Yep. So I'm writing a brand new epic fantasy series. So book one is written and it's been edited and I'm just finalizing the edits and then waiting for the cover. It's currently on pre-order on Amazon, and I'm hoping to bring the publish date into June, but I'm just waiting on the cover to be able to have a finalized that date. So this is, as I said, another epic fantasy, brand new world, brand new characters, has dragons in it. So it's quite exciting. Yes, yeah, yeah. So it's really exciting to get really into those magical creatures. I think all my books have had some sort of magical creature, and I mean my Arafels are the most famous from the
Yes, I
Sentinels,
love
but
them. Yes,
yeah, they're cute and cuddly and adorable.
yes.
So this one has dragons, but it's a little bit darker in that the theme is betrayal. So each of the main characters has been betrayed in one way or another, and it's how that betrayal has shaped them and formed them, and how they react going forward as all their paths cross. And then it's like, do you forgive? Do you not? How do you react when you meet the person who betrayed you, and what do you do? And the first book is called Forged by Betrayal and Blood, and it's book one of the
Oh,
Celestial Throne series. So yes, so
wow.
hopefully that will be out in June. I'm about a third of the way through book two.
Oh my
It's going
goodness.
well, and I'm loving it. I love the characters, and I love the world. So I can't wait to share it.
Oh, that sounds great. And I love dragons, and I know a lot of people love dragons,
Yes, it's
so
the
that's
theme
going
at
to
the
be
moment.
exciting. That is exciting. And as I've said, you are an absolutely beautiful writer, and I can't wait for that. And your world building is you set the bar. You set the bar on that, so thank you. We are actually at the end of our interview, and thank you so much for coming on today's podcast. It was an honor and a joy to meet you, Helen.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I always love talking about my books.
Wonderful, wonderful. Listeners, watchers, readers, you can connect with Helen on her website where you can sign up for her newsletter and download two free novellas. How about that? I will have a link to her website below the video. You can also find her on Goodreads, and I will include all these links: Goodreads, BookBub, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Follow her, like her, get her books. You will be just immersed in worlds that she has imagined for you. So I encourage you to check out author, bestseller, USA Today bestselling author Helen Garraway. Thanks for watching, and I will see you the next time.
This has been 12 Minutes or Less with the Author. Thanks for listening to today's episode. Hope you can join me for the next one. Until then, this is Tracy, aka Author T.L. Brown, signing off.